Hi, how are you doing? Welcome back to the Grammar Corner of ELG Gallery. In this video, we're still going to talk about sentence elements. And to be more specific, the topic today is direct object. Now, let's see what we are going to talk about. We are going to talk about the definition of a direct object, the forms, and then finally, we are going to talk about the object identification or how to identify an object. Now, let's start with the definition. A direct object is a sentence element which refers to a person or thing which becomes a target or the goal of the action on the state with the verb predicate expresses. A direct object is sometimes simply called an object when the sentence only has one object. We do not need to call a direct object if we only have one object in a sentence. The action on the state which the predicate verb expresses may have different relation with the person or thing which becomes the object of the sentence. Now let's see the relations of the action or state with the object. Here we have Wendy bought a leather bag. The leather bag was there and Wendy took it and bought it. So the leather bag already exists before Wendy bought the bag. The leather bag was already there before Wendy bought the bag. In the next situation, we have Susan and her mother are making a cake. Before the making action, the cake was not there. And the cake is a result of the making action. So here, the action produces the object. In the previous example, when we bought a bag, the object only undergoes, the object only becomes the target of the action. But here, in Susan and her mother are making a cake, the object comes into being or is a result of the action of making. We have a different relation in the next situation. Here we have Bobby likes Korean movies. In this situation, the Korean movies and Bobby are not connected at all. Bobby likes the Korean movies. Whether Bobby likes or hates the Korean movies are not affected. So here, the Korean movies just becomes the goal of his liking, of Bobby's liking. Well, now let's see the three kinds of relation once again. Wendy bought a leather bag. A leather bag here is already there and is affected by the buying action. The leather bag moves from the store to Wendy's house because Wendy has bought the leather bag. In the second sentence, in the second example, Susanna and her mother made a cake here. The cake was not there before, and now the cake is here because Susan and her mother made it. So the cake here is a result of the action. Whereas in the first example, a leather bag is only affected. It's a move from one place to another place. In the second example, the cake becomes into being. It's now here because of the action. In the third example, Bobby likes Korean movies. The movies are not affected by whatever Bobby does, and it only becomes the goal of Bobby's feeling. The feeling of Bobby here is directed to the Korean movies. So an object can be simply affected, like in 1, is created, like in 2, or just becomes the goal of a feeling, like in 3. Now let's see the difference between a direct object, which we have talked about so far, and the other object, the indirect object, which we will talk about in the next video. Here, Wendy bought a leather bag. So the action here, the buying action here, is directed to the leather bag. The leather bag here is affected directly by the action. The leather bag becomes the target, is the direction of the action. Here in the sentence, when he bought the bag for his sister, the bag is the direct object. It's the entity, it's the object to which the action, the buying action, is directed to. Her sister here does not become the target. It's the person or it's the entity who benefits from the action. So the direct object is the person on the thing which is directly affected by the action which the predicate verb expresses. We have four forms of object. The first is a pronoun, the second is a noun phrase, the third is a verb phrase, and the last is a clause. Now let's talk about each of them one by one. The first form of an object is a pronoun. Here we have the example, I bought it. It here replaces a letter bag. A pronoun is a word category which functions to replace a noun or a noun phrase. The pronoun it here replaces a letter bag. Poppy likes them. Them here is a pronoun, it's a plural, it's a pronoun for plural objects, plural things. And here, them here replaces Korean movies. Poppy likes them. Poppy likes Korean movies. They love it. In this example, it here can stand for cycling or any other noun which is singular. The pronoun it here replaces the noun cycling. It's a gerund. The second form of object is a noun phrase. We have, I admire Linda for her loyalty. Linda here is a noun phrase. It's only a single word, but the function of the single word here is the same as a noun phrase. It's a proper noun. We are still waiting for the show. The show here is a noun phrase. The police have caught the runaways. The runaways here is a noun phrase. So the second form of an object is a noun or noun phrase. The third form of an object is a verb phrase. We have two kinds of form of a verb phrase. The first is to infinitive. We have a sentence like, I need to revise my paper. To revise my paper, here is the object of need. John plans to go to Bali next month. To go to Bali next month is the object of plans. So the first form of a verb is a to infinitive. To infinitive and stem. To revise my paper, to go to Bali next month. The second form of a verb phrase is stem plus ing or gerund. Many people like cycling for their sport. Many people like cycling for their sport. The direct object here, cycling for their sport. Sinta regrets accepting the job. The object or the direct object of the sentence is accepting the job. And finally, the last form of an object is a clause. We have four types or four clause construction which can become the object of a verb. The first is a that clause. We have, I believe that Maureen can tackle the problem. We have that here and the clause, Maureen can tackle the problem. The subject of the clause is Maureen and the predicate is can tackle, and the object is the problem. I believe that Maureen can tackle the problem. Mrs. Derby says that she's ready for the work. Here we have that clause, that she is ready for the work, as the object of the verb says. And then the second type of clause is WH word clause. Here we have, I know who wrote the poster. I know who wrote the poster. The object of the verb know here, who wrote the poster. We have, they will answer whatever you ask. The object of the verb answer here is whatever you ask. Whatever is a WH word, whatever you ask. They will answer whatever you ask. The third type of clause which can become an object in a sentence is WH word to infinitive. Here we have the sentence, I don't know what to do. The object of the verb know here is what to do. The clause what to do here does not have an explicit subject, but the subject is implied. The person who does the action on the subject of do here is also the subject I. Mrs. Ahmad knows how to solve the problem. Here, the object of the sentence is how to solve the problem. How to solve the problem becomes the goal of the knowing state here. Know shows a state, and how to solve the problem becomes the goal of the verb know. The last type of clause which can become an object in a sentence is a whether clause. Here we have, I want to know whether you'll come or not. The object of the verb know here is whether you'll come or not. Here we have whether, the word whether, and then we have the subject you'll, and then we have the subject you and the predicate come or will come or not. And then we have, I wonder whether we have a class tomorrow or not. Here, the object of the verb wonder is the clause whether we have a class tomorrow or not. The subject of the clause is we, and the predicate is have, and we have the object of the verb have is a class. So those are all the four types of clause which can become an object in a sentence. We have a that clause, a W with word clause, a W with word to infinitive, and a whether clause. Now let's see how we can identify whether a sentence element is an object or not. The first way to identify whether a sentence element, whether a phrase, or whether a noun is an object or is the object in a sentence or not is by substituting the noun on the phrase on the sentence element with a pronoun. If we can substitute the noun on the noun phrase or the clause with a pronoun, then the noun, the phrase, or the clause is an object. I admire Linda for her loyalty. Linda here is a noun, and we can substitute Linda with the pronoun her. I need to revise my paper. I need to revise my paper. To revise my paper here is the object because we can substitute to revise my paper here with the pronoun it. I need it. Many people like cycling for the sport. Here we have cycling for the sport as the object of the verb like. Cycling for the sport, many people like it. Cycling for the sport is the object of the verb like. I know who wrote the poster. Who wrote the poster here is the object because we can substitute it with the pronoun him. I know him or I know her. I know who wrote the poster. I know her, I know him. They will answer whatever you ask. Whatever you ask here is the object in the sentence. We can substitute whatever you ask with the pronoun it. They will answer it. Whatever you ask, they will answer it. They will answer it. The second way of identifying the object in a sentence is by asking a question, who, what, or which. We have, I admire Linda for her loyalty. Here we can ask, who do you admire for her or his loyalty? Linda. So Linda here is the object in the sentence. I need to revise my paper. What do you need to do? I need to revise my paper. What do you need to revise my paper? Many people like cycling for their sport. What do the people like? What do many people like to do? That's cycling. What do many people like to do? Cycling for their sport. I know who wrote the poster. Who do you know? Who do you know wrote the poster? Who do you know? That's who wrote the poster here is the object. They will answer whatever you ask. What will they answer? Whatever you ask. So here we can substitute Linda to revise my paper, cycling for the sport, and who wrote to the poster, who wrote the poster, and whatever you ask with the question word who, what, or which. Well, to repeat once again, these are the four forms of object. The first is a pronoun, and the second is a noun phrase. Well, I need to give a comment on the noun phrase here. A noun phrase here is not just a common noun, but we also have a proper noun, a noun which starts with a capital letter. And then we have a verb phrase in which we have to infinitive and gerund. And then we have a clause. Here we have a that clause, a WH word clause, a WH word to infinitive, and a whether clause. Well, that's all our discussion about the direct object in English. If this video is useful for you in understanding English sentences, or it helps you to learn English grammar, please like this video and subscribe to eArticulary. See you again in the next video. In the next video, we'll talk about indirect object. See you.